Do you want to get better at selling in 2 quick seconds? Well, that is easy peasy. Ask your prospects the question, why can't you resolve this yourself? You're going to eliminate tons of sales objections, and you're also going to make the closing process far more easier further down the line. Now, if you want to take things further, there is actually another step you can do after this to really leverage the results. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. And a common objection that you're going to face day to day in your B2B sales role is what I call the DIY objection. This is when your prospects believe, whether this is true or not, that they could solve the problem themselves if they just sat down and had the time, energy and resources to do so. And so when you reach out to them, you book a meeting, you explain the value that you offer, you explain the service, you explain how you resolve this issue for the prospect, at the back of their mind they're going, I don't need this sucker, I can just deal with this on my own. But the truth of the matter is that if they really could solve this problem, and it's a priority for them, and it must be a priority, otherwise they wouldn't have wasted their time meeting with us, then they would have solved the problem in the past and this meeting would have been absolutely pointless in the first place. So something is holding them back from solving this issue, and that, if we can uncover it, becomes what we call leverage. Okay, so how do we get this leverage? How do we use it to get deals done, to beat objections? Well, we need to ask the prospect, once we've qualified them, once we know that they are a good fit, once we know that our product or service can help them, we need to ask them the question, why can't you resolve this yourself? Or, what's stopping you doing this yourself? That's how I tend to phrase it up. At this point, the prospect is going to look at you probably quite blankly in the face, and they're going to give you one of 3 options. They're going to say they don't have the time, they don't have the expertise, or they just don't have the motivation. If you hear any one of those 3 variables, time, expertise, or motivation, you are in with a good crack at getting a deal done. This is the buyer admitting to you, probably for the first time in your conversation. This is probably the first time when they've really dropped their guard, because this is somewhat of an unsuspecting question to be thrown at them. This is the first time they've admitted that they actually need some help. They either don't have the expertise, they don't have the time, or they don't have the motivation to get this done themselves. And usually I find this is a bit of a light bulb moment for the buyer as well. This is both them admitting to you that they need help, and it's them admitting to themselves that maybe there's a better way to solve this problem. And this shift in mindset is powerful. It turns you from some random salesperson who's just trying to get a deal done into a consultant, into a problem solver, into someone who's offering true, real value to this individual. So what do we do next? Well, now we need to leverage this answer that they've just given us to help us get the deal done. Depending on what the prospect says as to the reason why they've not managed to do this themselves, time, expertise, motivation, you then tee up the rest of your entire sales process, the product pitch, the demo, whatever is the next step in the buyer's journey along those lines. If they tell you they don't have the expertise, you say, our team will just solve all of this for you. If they tell you they don't have the time, then you say, great, this is going to cost you absolutely nothing in time. It's just going to cost a little bit in resources, a little bit of cash to get the ball rolling. If they tell you they're really just not motivated, you go, it doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. Let me take this burden off your shoulders and let us do it instead. I'll give you a quick example of this. I hate doing my accounting. Don't get on with it. I just don't care. Accounting is necessary for loads of legal purposes and managing the finances and cash flow of the business, which obviously is important, but I absolutely hate doing it. And so which happened recently, a small local firm reached out and said, hey, we'll just do your bookkeeping for you. Why are you doing that yourself? You could be creating content, training, adding value to your potential customers, adding value to your current customers, driving revenue, and quite frankly, getting rich. Why are you spending time doing your accounting? And I snapped their offer right out of their hand. So when you know exactly why the buyer hasn't managed to solve this problem themselves, you then just continually point to it over and over and over and over again. This isn't something that you've just invented. The buyer has told you exactly why they all got stuck. And the best way to incorporate this into your closing strategy to drive that little bit more pain that can often get a deal over the line is to incorporate it into the storytelling framework from inside Selling Made Simple, the book. You can grab the book over at salesman.com completely for free. We use this framework because people are compelled by stories. It's written deep into our DNA that this is how information is shared over conversations, but also generations as well. And if you can weave together a customer story, how someone else didn't have the time, the expertise, or the motivation to solve the problem, and then you help them get from where they are to where they want to go, that adds a layer of social proof to the interaction and encourage people to take that next step forward, which hopefully is getting a contract signed. So very briefly, we want to describe the buyer's current reality. And we want to tie this to someone else that you've worked with in the past who also suffered from this problem. Hey, you have a lack of motivation to solve this issue. We worked with blah, 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 who also had this lack of motivation. They knew that they probably could solve it on their own, but they just could never get around to it, and it was becoming more and more urgent that they needed to solve it. We then move on to this individual within our story, the unresolved pain. What was the consequences of them not taking action? How drastic did this pain get? The more that the prospect that we're speaking to can feel the pain of the customer in our story, the more likely we're going to get an emotional response and more likely we're going to drive the deal forward. But like any good story, we don't want to make things easy. There's always a few things that stop a buyer, a person within any story, film, novel, whatever it is, from just going and solving the issue themselves. This is where we reach our success blockers. So maybe the prospect in the story wasn't feeling motivated. There was massive consequences to not solving this problem, but they couldn't just go and do it because it was motivation. Perhaps there was an element of time involved in the story as well. Maybe they had other priorities, and these things are just building up and building the tension between where the buyer is and where they want to get to. And this is where we move on to the fourth step of the framework. We want to really highlight the benefits of solving this problem. For me, with my accounting analogy that I shared earlier on in the video, I could talk about the fact, well, if my bookkeeping and accounting was done and somewhat automated, it would free up more time to drive revenue, to speak to customers, to do the marketing, to create these videos, all the stuff that actually moves the needle in the business as opposed to just keeps the machine turning over. And then we look at the benefits of that. What does that mean? Well, it means quicker pathways to early retirement, it means fast cars, it means whatever you want it to mean. So now we've set up the buyer's current reality, the pain, and we've really stuck the knife in and twisted it there. We've looked at what else is stopping them from solving this themselves, and then this big, bright, bold future reality that they could be moving towards. There's only one final step of the story, and that's what wraps it all up and pulls it all together. And that is to build what we call the reality bridge. And we position ourselves as the pathway to go from where they are right now to where they want to go. And using a customer story, as we're doing right here, to emphasize things just makes everything way more powerful. Because it's one thing for a salesperson to say, well, I can take you from here to there. It's quite another to share a customer story of how someone like the prospect that we're engaging with did this themselves. They're the hero. We just help them along. We just give them that motivation. We just enabled them to eliminate time from the process, or we just shared our expertise to help them get over the line. They're the hero, we're not the hero here. They're the ones going from this painful place to this bigger, brighter, bolder place. And when you share a customer story to get them there, especially towards the end of the process where maybe they logically understand how things work and they logically get the fact that you could probably help them, what we're doing now is tying in the trust, the emotions, and the rapport. So they go, sod it, yes, you take the reins here, solve this problem for me, and I'll be grateful when you do. So that is the one question you can ask to dramatically improve your sales results in just 2 seconds, and a framework step by step that you can implement today to actually get it into your sales conversations moving forward. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did and you want to continue to make selling simple, why not click the video that's on the screen right